I think I was soul focused, not selfishly. I think necessarily I had to survive first. But my wife, she was kind of hung out to dry until this became our reality instead of my reality. My name is Matt Schobert, and I had nearly a 30-year fire service career. I spent 15 years with the largest fire district in the state of Arizona, progressing from the rank of firefighter, engineer, captain, and battalion chief. I spent nearly 9 years in Sedona, at which point I took a job in Hemet, California as their fire chief for 3 years, and then I spent 4 years in Murrieta as their fire chief.
Matt and I met on a blind date in Arizona. The minute the door opened, I knew he was my soulmate. I knew I would end up marrying him. And we got married in August of 1989 and been married 27 years.
I was one of those individuals that not only had made it my job, but it was my hobby. It was everything. It was my identity. I mean, I have a Dalmatian dog with flat top, the big mustache. I always seemed to gravitate to the busy fire stations that had more fires than the others and more traumatic incidents than the others.
I didn't think of the risk. I truly didn't. He was smart, he was safe, and I thought every shift when he left, he would come home. I didn't think anything would happen.
On the morning of July 2nd, 2014, I was actually functioning in my role as fire chief, but I was putting on a different hat that day in the role of the fire marshal. We were requested to respond out to the northwest corner of the city of Murrieta to monitor a brush clearing operation. I remember getting out of my vehicle with my little Garmin weather device, and that's the last thing I remember that's clear. I woke up, I don't know if it's 2 minutes later or 20 minutes later, face down in the dirt.
I was working from home as a human resources recruiter, HR consultant, and I was on a phone interview, and my cell phone kept ringing, and I answered one of the calls, and they said that Matt had been in an accident and I needed to get to the hospital.
This Bobcat with the commercial mower attachment actually launched a rock about the size of your fist, a distance greater than half a football field, estimated about 182 feet, and it struck me square in the jaw. And there's nothing like that feeling of being in the middle of nowhere by yourself, realizing that you're bleeding to death with a third of your face missing. So they flew me to Loma Linda University Medical Center, where the best, he was a trauma surgeon, a physician, and a dentist, oral maxillofacial surgeon, happened to be on duty, one of the world-renowned guys. And he and his team spent 6 hours putting me back together again.
And I remember the surgeon coming out, Dr. Alan Herford, saying, "Your husband's lucky to be alive."
My wife, during my period of unconsciousness, she actually went through about 48 hours where she thought she might become a widow.
Like the first 10 days to 2 weeks was truly just like recovery. I just thought he would be fine and we would go back to our life. That's what I thought.
I couldn't chew. I didn't want to chew. I had to drink everything through a straw. Chronic pain all the time. You know, I had 1,000 stitches in my head and a steel plate, and it was just too much. It was overwhelming.
After that first initial shock of the injury and the pain medication, I knew something was wrong. He was emotionally a wreck. At the beginning, it was more just sadness and crying and anxious, but then later the anger came like no tomorrow.
I mean, I could go from being kind of calm, cool, and collected like I am right now to a raving maniac at the drop of a hat. It was almost like that Exorcist movie where I would be taken over by something that would just make me say terrible things. And it would go away as quickly as it came, but the damage was already done.
As a spouse, I got to the point where it was like I had to almost overthink everything in my mind to say, don't do anything to make sure I don't trigger him. You're thinking, oh my God, don't do this, don't say that, because it could shoot him into an anger rant.
Bright lights, helicopter noise, siren noise, the smell of vegetation. were all triggers for me. I went to the grocery store, I think it was a Sunday afternoon with my wife, and we were shopping up and down the aisles, and there was a baby screaming. Something about the fluorescent lighting, the baby screaming, having to make all these different decisions.
And it was probably just like, I would say not even 10 minutes, and he was like, I have to go.
I told her, I think I'm dying. I think I'm having a heart attack.
I need to call 911. He's like, no, I will not do that. And so then we went to the fire station, and then his crew said, you're having a panic and an anxiety attack.
I considered myself a strong proponent of firefighter fitness and wellness. So I guess perhaps I did recognize that I was having a critical incident stress response, but PTSD in my mind was a combat soldier's condition, not a fire chief's condition, regardless of the circumstances.
There were times where I thought, should I get out of this marriage? Where there were times I thought, should I just leave? Am I better off without him and he better off without me? But I'm married this man, I'm committed to him, I'm gonna make it work.
You know, we can all deal with physical pain, but it's the emotional pain is the one that gets us. You know, having emotional trauma is no different than having a broken ankle, and you gotta reach out for help, and it's gotta be okay to do that.
I mean, we have done over the last 2.5 years all types of therapies and counseling. There's no great one answer. It's like you got to find different things that help make you feel better. Learning to cope, you got to learn to re-cope with the days when you're diagnosed with PTSD.
I'm starting to get my mojo back a little bit, and I'm starting to figure out how to enjoy life again and, you know, focus on trying to have hope for tomorrow.
You have to adapt to who the new person is and accept that it's changing because they're a different person.
Tami means the world to me. I never tell her that enough. I take her for granted probably, and I don't think I would have put up with all the crap she's put up with since my injury, and even before, I guess. But definitely it's been hell for her. So I'm very thankful for her. I'm thankful for her compassion and her patience of sticking by me.